Chapter 5. Do your due diligence. Researching different countries and their various universities can feel like a massive task to deal with. More often than not, the first question that springs to mind is, where do I even begin? As anxiety-inducing as it may feel, there are guidelines that you can follow to lighten the load. Once you've settled on a destination or multiple destination options, you'll have the important task of choosing a university in the destination country or countries. It's imperative that you do as much research on the countries of your choosing so that you get a good feel for what you'll be getting yourself into. Culture shock can be quite intense if you've never traveled abroad before, and the best way to avoid this is to brace yourself for what is to come before you've even left. Moreover, you want to ensure that you base your decisions on two key factors. The first is that the country or countries that you're looking into should have quality programs in your desired field of study. The second revolves around the type of postgraduate lifestyle you're hoping to achieve in-country. Understanding whether or not the countries that you're considering can provide you with the life you've envisioned for yourself will be pivotal in your decision-making process. How much weight you place on each of these factors will depend on whether you have a desire to remain in the country once you've completed your program. As mentioned before, you could be using this opportunity to not only gain a higher level of education, but to act as a bridge to residency in a specific country. The legalities. The legal prerequisites for studying in any given country will vary depending on the country in question. This is something you need to assess before attempting to apply. Look for potential red flags, such as stringent visa requirements for specific regions and what additional documentation you might need as an international student. In some cases, you'll be required to show proof or a certain amount of funds to ensure you can cover your studies. While a cosigner can alleviate this issue, it might be a telltale sign of the cost of living. This brings us to our next point. The cost of education and living in different countries vary quite widely. You might find that a certain country has better educational prospects for you, but the cost of basic accommodation is too much for you to foot on your own. However, financial assistance might be available in some countries. Be sure to research this prospect before making any concrete decisions. The quality of your education and student life will depend on different factors, such as the aforementioned living conditions. You'll also need to factor in elements like welfare, public security, transportation infrastructure, and the overall environment you'll be immersed in. Conditions for continuing your education. The conditions for continuing education, work, or residence in each country are different and may have a direct impact on your choices. These choices should be weighed against the criteria of your individual goals. To make things easier for you to assess potential regions as your destination of choice, you can categorize potential universities into region-specific sectors. The following list will give you a rough idea of what this might look like. 1. American and Canadian universities. U.S. dollar versus Canadian dollar. 2. Western European and English universities. Euro versus GBP. 3. Universities of Australia and New Zealand. Australian dollar versus New Zealand dollar. 4. Universities of the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Dinar, dirham versus euro. And 5. Asian universities in Malaysia, Singapore, India, Japan, and China. Multiple currencies to contend with, such as the ringgit, rupee, and yen. If you'll be depending on a stipend from your home country, consider what that will translate to in the currency of your destination country. Also consider whether there are resources that you can tap into to curb costs, such as sharing accommodation and applying for student funding. You can also add another category for South American countries and African countries. There are a plethora of learning opportunities in those regions with some highly regarded universities. Just be aware that while acquiring residency thereafter is not necessarily any more difficult than in the listed countries, job opportunities in the mid to high earning bracket are slim. On the other hand, students may categorize countries based on their level of development and the reputation of their universities. Such a ranking might sound like the one here. 1. United States, Canada, and Europe. 2. Australia and New Zealand. 3. Countries within East and Southeast Asia. And 4. Countries within the Middle East and Eastern Europe. In the above order, these countries are classified based on the reputation of their universities, the level of public welfare, and your prospect of staying or continuing your education. End of chapter checklist. Tick off each box when you feel that you know the answers to the questions with the utmost certainty. Which countries offer quality programs in my field of study? Which of those countries offer a better postgraduate life? Can I afford to live in those countries for the duration of my studies? And if not, are there resources available to assist me? For more information on due diligence, please visit our website, www.radviser.com.